Royce Morales is the founder and teacher of the Perfect Life Awakening program, author, columnist, and expert on mirroring. She empowers clients with her profound process that helps neutralize self-sabotage, shift stuck patterns and negative thinking by locating the origins of limiting subconscious programmed beliefs. Live an authentic existence. Discover your true purpose. Connect with your higher consciousness. Reset your life. Transform from triggered to empowered and attract what you truly desire and deserve by discovering what life is reflecting to you. Because it's all mirrors.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to my show. And as you just heard, I'm Royce Morales, and I refer to myself as the Awakener because that is really what happens in the information and the courses that I give. And last time we got together, I talked a lot about mirroring. I gave you a basic understanding of it. We're just going to go into a little bit of a deeper level about mirroring because it's all about seeing what's reflected to you so that you can get past it and resolve all the triggering that goes on and have a more positive experience of yourself and life. Today, I'm going to talk specifically about how we get programmed and what happens from that programming. We push it down and then it becomes a mirror for us. So I'm going to explain how that works. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about how our higher consciousness, our spirit, is leading us to remember those things that we push down so we can neutralize them. So I explained that the best way to understand mirroring is to imagine it like a seesaw. So let's see that seesaw again to remind everybody about that. There it is. There's that seesaw. You push something down and it has to come up somewhere. And those guys must be dizzy at this point. Anyway, one of them is pushing it down. The other one is bouncing up. That's what mirroring is in a basic way. But before I get into the details, I want to introduce my co-host today, Roy Daggs III. There he is. And he is amazing. I have known Roy a long time. He's been my longtime student. He took a break here and there, but he's just a real committed spiritual practitioner, shall we say, of Perfect Life Awakening. And he finds that spiritual awareness and evolution is really the key to his business. He's an entrepreneur, and he's been entrepreneuring, if that's a word, for forever, for decades. And he applies mirroring in all of his endeavors. And of course, when he gets stuck looking at mirrors, he calls me up and we work on it. So welcome, Roy. I'm so glad you're here.
Well, thank you, Royce. I'm very happy to be here today to talk about a very important topic, and that's being able to find a sense of higher consciousness when doing business.
In business, yeah. And it's something that people don't really think about too often. I think that's changing. I think the business world is getting more conscious. But it's, I was laughing with him a few minutes ago because I don't really attract too many business people in my course, in my program. It just seems like maybe it's a little bit too left brain or something, but it's exciting to watch Roy really apply it in business committedly. And with his relationships and friends and family, etc. So it's awesome. So let's talk about our inner programming. I want to give you guys information about that, and I have some slides. And just, again, to remind everybody the basic understanding of mirroring. And then I'm going to get into asking Roy all these questions about how he applies it, etc. So let's go to that slide 1, where it says there is an unalterable universal law of energy that states nothing can ever be suppressed. And that's a law. It's like gravity. And mirroring is what others in life reflect to you that you are suppressing or in denial about. And they're amazing tools. There is not a day of my life that I don't use that tool, because as soon as I find myself feeling triggered or in a button, I just go, oh, wow, okay, what's the mirror here? So then on slide 2, again, here's the seesaw analogy. And push something down, it comes up in some way, somehow. And by the way, I forgot to mention, if you are watching this, live streaming this, feel free to send us questions or comments, etc. They just pop right up and we can read them and answer them. So let's go to the third slide. Third slide is, now I want to explain the order of mirroring. So you're real young. Before the age of 3, you experience a moment of pain or loss, or a time that you believe you caused pain or loss, which is actually even more significant. During those moments, you make decisions about yourself and others in life, and that becomes your programmed reality. So then we have this program going on. I'm going to give you an example in a minute. So in order to, quote, protect you and others, the primitive survival consciousness that's basically running you all the time has you suppress the incident as well as the decisions that you made. But again, remember the seesaw, nothing can be suppressed. The energy of that memory is in you, and it comes out in a variety of ways, whether it's body language, being or acting a certain way, the choices that you make, your thoughts, your words, your intention, etc. But let me give you, this is a really silly example. You're a little 2-year-old and your dad is watching TV and he's ignoring you. And you're kind of a bratty 2-year-old. So instead of saying, Daddy, Daddy, pay attention to me, which maybe you couldn't verbalize or even understand at that point, you grab the remote control and you fling it across the room and it breaks. Okay. So now your dad is really pissed. So what does he do? He picks up your plastic baseball bat and swats you on the behind with that bat. And as he's doing it, he says, oh, you're such a brat. You're always ruining my things. I wish you'd grow up already. Something like that. So from that incident, you make a ton of decisions. Excuse me. Maybe things like, I ruined things. I'm a brat. I caused my dad to get angry. Men are violent. Baseball bats are dangerous. Probably even more than that was decided right then. But all of those decisions become part of your subconscious programming. So in order to protect you, your fear-based consciousness pushes all that down. It suppresses it, especially the decisions that you've made about yourself. And you hope it will never show up again. Okay. Unfortunately, as I keep saying, excuse me, nothing can ever really be suppressed. So you go through life and you have all these events that remind you of that moment. You go to a baseball game and without knowing why, all of a sudden you're like uncomfortable and you're thinking, oh, I don't like baseball. And you're terrified that you're going to be hit by a bat, baseball bat. You go through life with an ongoing thought that you're going to piss off your male friends. No matter how hard you try, you ruin things all the time. You constantly crave attention, but you don't feel deserving of it. I'm sure you can kind of see where this is going. So those decisions that you made when you were 2 years old become all-inclusive and generalized, and they affect every aspect of your life from then on without you even knowing it. So comes out in all kinds of ways, all kinds of things start happening. That stuff that you're suppressing starts being mirrored to you all the time. Why is that? Because on a lower fear-based consciousness level, you're asking to have situations. Oh, actually, I need the next slide. Thank you. Why does all this happen? Subconsciously, you're asking to attract situations and people to show you what you are suppressing. You subconsciously choose people that are going to be perfect mirrors to show you what you're suppressing. So you might subconsciously choose friends that like to pick up baseball bats and swat you. And forgetting all that, your buttons get pushed, you get triggered, you don't want to see what they're reflecting, you blame them, and you often try to get them to change or get them out of your life. So that's what happens from those mirrors. And your fear-based consciousness then gets to be right. Your fear-based consciousness says, yeah, men are violent. Look at all my friends trying to hit me all the time, and look at all these people that won't pay attention to me, etc. So that's what happens on one level. Now, on a higher consciousness level, I think I have another slide there. Maybe, maybe not. Oh, there we go. So that's the fear-based consciousness level. So now I get to be right about all I decided, and I get to blame everybody. But on a higher consciousness, spiritual level, your higher self says, I want you to grow and evolve. I want you to get past all this. I want you to wake up and remember what you have suppressed so that we can neutralize it. So that's the reason, that's the big reason that all that stuff happens. Unfortunately, excuse me, most of the time, we're so stuck in that fear-based level that that's all we get from it. We just think, yeah, you can't trust men. Yeah, men hate me or whatever. So, but the real point is, what does my higher self, what does my spirit want me to learn and grow from this situation? It wants me to wake up, right? So let's talk about, actually, let's just jump in, Roy. Let's talk about you in terms of how you utilize mirrors, or actually give us a little background. How did you come to understand mirroring? Was it hard? I don't think any student has ever had an easy time saying, oh yeah, okay, I'll do that. I know it's hard. So tell us a little background about how you came to accept mirroring.
Well, at first of all, I realized that it's very important to understand that I want to do or improve myself. And because I remember, well, my goodness, in a business situation, I was in many instances just playing the role. I was acting. I was being a great actor. And part of being a great actor is wear the suit and do what you have to do, so on and so forth, to just get the deal, to just get the sale. But I realized I wasn't happy. Something was missing. And for my entire life, basically, ever since I was very young, I was always coaching, helping various teams. I was a mentor, a tutor. I'm still doing that today. And I saw deep within myself that I want to make sure that what I am doing is a reflection of who I want to be and who I am internally. And I saw how these businesses out there, some of them were very community minded and some were not. And over the past year, I realized that, you know what, I want to make sure that I'm focused on community minded businesses. Not to say that I was not that way before, but the level of consciousness that I have within has really taken off. And to give you a good example, so I'm going through some databases and I'm looking to try to find certain words in order to connect with community-minded businesses. I'm basically in the financial industry area and also in dealing with manufacturers. And what I noticed is that after doing this research, I saw this article in the New York Times, but I ignored it. You see, a mirror is very interesting because a mirror will say to us, okay, what is life showing me, or what are events or people showing me that I may be ignoring or in denial? And basically, that article was interesting because I saw it, but I really didn't see it. So that was the early part of this year. The latter part of this year, basically about 6 weeks ago, I was talking to some people in the business world, in the financial area, and I was mentioning that I'm looking for these community-minded companies in the financial area. They said, well, I got some pushback, and I was a little disappointed, but I said, okay, wait a minute, let me just pause for a moment. I did that, and as I always like to do, I like to pause and then trust my first response. And what I noticed within myself, I need to look through or look at some more databases. I did that, and guess what? The article that I saw in the early part of this year, New York Times, And I knew it was the same article because the lady who was pictured looks like a dear friend of mine. And I thought, oh my God, it was right there. It was right before me. And so that in itself told me, okay, I got to look at this article. I got to read it. I did. I got some great information. And right now I'm moving toward that kind of area, employee-owned companies, which for me is exciting because I know it's community-oriented. And that's fantastic.
So, in other words, you saw the article, you kind of suppressed it, pushed it down, ignored it, and then it came back up in your life to remind you. And that's really how mirroring works. And that's a great example of it. Yeah.
Yes.
So what about, I think I asked you earlier, what was it challenging to do that at first for you? How did you get to the point where you really trusted those mirrors?
Well, it was challenging from the standpoint that I wasn't paying attention. And part of being aware is paying attention.
Yeah.
And I realized how important that is. I remember years ago, I was running in a track meet. There were 10,000 people there, and I tripped and fell on a wooden track. And I made a decision. I thought, oh, I hate these wooden tracks. But the point I'm bringing this up now in business, because I have to look and see if by chance what I was thinking about years ago, is that in some way infiltrating my way of how I see business and how I do business and the people with whom I'm associating. And what I've discovered is that I want to be able to connect with people who are very confident in terms of where they are in business. And some of them may not be, but that's okay, because we can all work together and make sure that at the end of the day, we're helping various communities, from the person who is sweeping the factory to the executives who are there at the company. There is some commitment that we can make. And I realized, there was a challenge to engage in looking for mirrors, but I kept persisting because I know what it feels like to walk on water. When I was in the 7th and 8th grade, I never lost a race. And so I know preparation and putting forth the effort and time is really important. And so basically, I was very happy that I keep continuing to grow, because I want to grow, I want to evolve. And that's basically the sense of love and joy in terms of doing what I'm doing.
Mm. So again, you fell in the track meet, you made decisions, and
right.
Did you suppress those decisions and those started popping up all over the place? Is that what you're saying?
That's a great question, because 3 months after that happening, I started having hamstring trouble. Mm. And that trouble continued not only through high school, but into college. But I was committed. And I remember once moving to California, I was able to have the desire, the deservingness to know that, I can win. I know what it feels like to win. And I got involved with Hatha Yoga, and I continued to engage myself in finding ways to improve my life and improve my existence in business. And at the time, I was involved with business with my brother. And what was interesting about that is that if we look at the pattern, that decision-forming incident when I fell, the interesting part about that, I met a great mentor, and I said to this mentor one day, business is bad. So, that was very interesting when I said, in retrospect, when I look at that now. But that's how I felt. That's how I felt, because I had some situations and it didn't work out as an employee. And then, but I looked further and I saw that, okay, there's a pattern here. I did not forgive myself for what happened years ago when I fell. I also realized that I'm not clear with my truth, but I saw my truth in the fact that when I fell, I created a certain thought pattern and a belief system. And by creating that belief system, I started to suppress the part of my deservingness. And at the end of the day, I realized that I need to just keep doing the work. I've been here before. I know what it's like. I know how to prepare. Just continue to do the work.
Yeah. I think what you said is really important about blaming yourself, because a lot of times, going back to the silly example I gave with the 2-year-old and his dad, he blamed himself for causing that anger and for destroying something. And from that point on, that became his motto of life. I destroy things. I cause anger. I'm a bad person, all of that stuff. And that's what he lives from. That's what we live from, those deserving decisions, and because of all that, I don't deserve love. I don't deserve a remote control. I don't deserve my dad to pay attention to me or anyone. So yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're talking about that, because whenever I feel as though I am being disconnected from myself, a trigger could be positive, a positive mirror or negative mirror. A positive mirror could be, oh, I have all these great sales. Why do I need to continue to do the extra work? But I realized that any type of mirror is a gift. And with that gift, I saw that I can even go further with what I'm doing. I can talk to companies where there's an opportunity where I can do more to really help those companies. And so that in itself, I think was really important. But also I must say that years ago, I actually was reading a book about Dr. George Washington Carver. And here's a gentleman who was born in 1864. His parents were slaves. But this gentleman had this desire to live and grow. And the most interesting part about his life is that he would take these nature walks. And in the morning, he would touch the plants, touch the herbs, look at the agricultural products. And by doing that, he was able to take these products and turn them into paint. The paint was used on automobiles, on the body parts of cars that attracted the attention of Henry Ford. And so I think about that story because, we talk about mirrors can come from anywhere, but it's the fact that he took those nature walks. And I saw how important it is for me to think the same way and to really connect to nature in that manner.
Yeah, because, the higher self, the spirit, is always communicating with us. And it's always saying, wake up to this, notice these plants so you can turn them into paint. It's just always trying to communicate with us. Yeah. Interesting. So let's take a little bit of a break, and we'll be right back. I'm talking to Roy Daggs, and somebody up here just asked me if I have a website, and yes, I do. It's roycemorales.com. And somebody else just commented about George Washington Carver. He got up to walk and talk with source. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And we're able to do that too. That's what mirrors are trying to do. They're shoving our face in a truth, either a higher consciousness truth, or take a look at this other thing that you're suppressing. So we will be right back, and we'll talk a little bit more with Roy.
All right.
Times TV. Do you want to break free from old patterns and limiting beliefs that subconsciously sabotage your life? What are your triggers, and what really is beneath them? Are you seeking answers to life's big questions, intrigued by the possibility of self-discovery that goes deep? Looking for tools to help you break free from hidden sources of feeling stuck, confused, and unworthy? Perfect Life Awakening takes you on an epic inner adventure that shifts your perception of yourself, others, and life permanently. Identify and overcome the origins of subconscious triggers and limiting beliefs holding you back. That's how you transform your mindset from the roots. That's how you liberate your spirit, awaken your intuition, and discover your true purpose. Dive deep into the mysteries held within. Embark on a life-altering journey of self-discovery. Be a trailblazer within your own life. Go from triggered to empowered, because you deserve a perfect life awakening. Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. Om Times Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, Om Times offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an Om Times magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on Om Times TV and broadcasting it across the extensive Om Times radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. Om Times. Open yourself to the possibilities.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize, and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Welcome back. We're talking about mirrors, and I'm talking with Roy Daggs. And he's got a zillion stories about mirrors, but I wanted to mention a couple of things. First of all, it's not just about digging and discovering mirrors. It's about shifting things. I find I always use this terrible example, but if you can imagine that we're surrounded by a pile of, shall we say, doo-doo, and keeping it nice and polite here. So we're surrounded by all this stuff. And what I tell people when they sign up for my courses, I give them a shovel and a mirror. So the first shovelful, it's like, okay, wow, that felt good. I just took off a big shovelful. But what happens is you've now exposed the next layer of that doo-doo. So that's sometimes discouraging to people, but I always think it's a good sign. I know in my own life, there were a lot of shovelfuls that I had to take to get even to that next layer. And I look back on my life and I realize each layer was so significant. And, you know, if you're picturing that imagery, it's also deeper and wider that you're discovering. So even now, after I've been doing this for over 4 decades, I had a major realization the other day that was such a mirror to me in a relationship that I'm in, and couldn't understand why it wouldn't work and what it's about. And I realized I had a past life memory with this person, and it shed light on this relationship. And it was like, oh, duh, how could I have not seen that 30 years ago? It was so obvious. But I wanted to talk to Roy about that, because I know that you do a lot of past life work. And how does that work with you and your business and your relationships? And tell us a little bit more about that and your experience of past life mirrors. Yes, they exist. We bring them with us.
Well, you know, it's funny you're talking about that, because at first I thought, past lives, what the heck? No, I don't. I'm trying to figure out this life. But what I realized is that over a period of time, engaging in inner work and just trusting whatever comes up, I saw myself in different situations in a past life or 2 or 3 or even more than that. And I realized, oh my God, that's relating to something that is going on right now in my life, or something that took place earlier in my life. And so I am open to those connections, because I want to continue to grow. I want to evolve. I want to be able to make a difference, you know, in this world before I leave this place. And being able to do that in business, being able to connect with these various companies that I think are really important, but being connected to the right company, because sometimes you can just connect with a company and before you know it, it's not the right network. You're not connecting with the right people. And so I have to do more inner work to find out, okay, what am I denying? What am I not seeing if I end up making a call or two and someone says no, or we don't care to see you, or whatever the case might be, I have to really do the inner work to make sure that my intent is pure and that I want to make sure that I'm connecting with the right people so that we can see collectively how we can make a difference in the lives of these employees and all the other people who are connected there. Yeah.
And that's real important what you just said about intent, because, you know, if our fear-based consciousness is rowing our boat, so to speak,
Right.
we're not clear about our real intent. So we go through life and we do these things and we wonder, why is this not working? Why can't this happen? And when we start looking within at mirrors, it's like, what were they mirroring to me? They were mirroring that my intent was coming from my ego, or my intent was coming from fear, or my intent was coming from some false belief that I have, you know, and clearing that up, even recognizing that can make a shift. It really can.
Oh, no doubt about it. You know, that's so very true. All of that is a gift. And sometimes it may not appear that way at first, but life is interesting. I like to see myself or envision myself going down a highway. And sometimes I have to take that exit because I need to recharge my mental batteries and recharge my spiritual batteries. But at some point, I'm going to get back on that highway and keep going. And basically, that's part of the gift, because being able to take that exit route for a moment and being able to really see that, okay, this is what I need to do now, because now, you know, life is like a book. You know, we have all these chapters. So I can now go from chapter 14 to 15 to 16. I can keep moving forward with my life and just being thankful for the past situations, because, you know, I do want to grow and I can learn from those experiences. And those experiences are really, truly a gift.
Yeah, definitely. And using your road analogy, having the intention to get where you're going, not having the intention to prove to the world that you're so cool, or to get attention and validation and praise and, you know, a monetary check or something.
Right.
You know, having pure intention. And what I mean by pure is I'm sensing that this is my purposeful journey. And I'm doing this because I'm helping people. And I'm doing this because I just know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Versus, like I said, wow, I'm so cool and I'm going to get all these people paying attention to me and I'm going to get fame and fortune, you know.
Right.
And oh, somebody just walked by.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by pure intention. And that's where mirrors are so handy, because they're going to show you, they're going to slap you in the face and go, hey, what's the deal here? What is your true intention? Because that's what shows up.
Right. Well, that's very true. And so awareness is everything. And we, you know, want to be concerned and well, not concerned, but just to be focused on what's happening in our lives, and knowing that as long as we are on that path, and I like to have what I call this inner mirror. It's an inner mirror conversation. And basically there's fear, these beliefs, and they're trying to come into a part of me that's dealing with faith and trust. And as a result, you know, I realize I don't want to slam the door on fear. I want to have a conversation with fear. I want fear to know, look, I know you're trying to come over here and hang out with faith and trust. I know that's where you want to go, and that's fine. But at the same time, you know, we're going to embrace you. We're going to listen to you. But once you're able to get to a point where we know that you can come and join our party, fear, okay, great. We'll let you come, and you're going to see how you yourself can evolve from this whole fear. And so basically, that's exactly what I always try to do, and I realize how important it is.
Yeah, definitely is. And I think that's an important point, because I always say, gosh, it's like having a bratty 2-year-old living in your head and you're trying to ignore it. what's it going to do? It's just going to get louder and start throwing things and, hitting people and whatever, instead of just saying, okay, 2-year-old fear, what's really going on here? What is the real fear? Like you're invited to a party and suddenly, that 2-year-old starts acting out. Well, instead of sending it to its room and punishing it and slapping it and whatever else people do to those bratty 2-year-olds, you sit down and you listen to it. Okay, what's really going on here? Well, I don't like parties. The last party I went to, everybody ignored me, and then I fell asleep and my head landed in the cake. And, so if you listen to those things, I find if we allow ourselves to listen to our fears, or if we allow ourselves to listen to other people's fears, and get them out in the open, the power that they have, the oomph that I call it all the time, that oomph goes away and they don't have to be acting out anymore. I do that all the time. My husband is wonderful. He listens to all my little fear-based 2-year-old when it comes out to play. And he just listens and goes, okay, thank you. Thanks for sharing. So, yeah.
Right. Well, you're reminding me of something that's very important. I really have to look at myself and check if there is any neediness in business. I need to get this deal. I need to get this sale. I got to get it. And as a result, if I'm projecting that, the other person is going to feel or show me some form of neediness, which may not work. And we're doing this dance, and it's not allowing me to grow and see within myself how I can continue to improve and just be aware of what I'm doing before I actually perhaps make that call.
Yeah. And that's everything you're saying. I'm like, oh yeah, that's another important point. When you said the dance,
Oh yeah.
That if we have something in us that we're suppressing, other people act on that suppression and show us our suppression. However, they might have a like a concurrent, if that's the right word, a similar mirror that they need to see from us. So we do this dance together. So if I'm suppressing my anger, I choose somebody to act out on my anger, but they might have an equally strong need to have me in their life to show them their anger. So it's a dance that we do all the time, this lower consciousness, fear-based dance, And what I find, and maybe I haven't emphasized this enough, but I find that when we shift the dance, when we get off our side of the seesaw, everything changes. I think I mentioned that in the last episode where I was not in touch with my anger. My husband was acting on it. And when I got in touch with my anger, he stopped acting on my suppressed anger. Things shift from seeing mirrors. Have you find that to be true in your life?
Oh, yes. No doubt about it. I think the big part about that is being able to forgive myself. I'm not waiting for other people to forgive. Yeah. I need to forgive myself.
Yeah.
And that part is so important. Then once if I have to look at that decision forming incident, those patterns which have taken place over maybe a lifetime, I'll do that as well. But at the end of the day, I want to make a commitment, to have this incident to remind me that I can shift, I can make those changes. But then last but not least, it's important to take action, because with action, now we're talking about the shift.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Actions are really important. I know that there's a lot of spiritual disciplines that I've either participated in or have read about that don't emphasize taking action. I think, to me, it just kind of invalidates everything that I've done. It's like if I get in touch with all these mirrors and all this great stuff and I release it and resolve it and forgive myself, but then I just kind of sit there with it, our spirit wants us to take actions with whatever it is that we've understood and realized. It wants us to be activists, peaceful, loving activists. So yeah, that's really important. Yeah. So what else in terms of interesting stories do you have about mirroring in your life? I'm sure you've got tons of stories.
Oh yeah. Well, the other part is through competitive athletics, you go through this process of, and I won't forget this one story. I was racing the 800 meters at the time. It was the semifinals in a league meet. And there was a guy who beat me. And I said to myself, I'm going to get that guy. I'm going to go after him. I'm going to beat him. Well, let me tell you what happened. That was the worst race I ever ran in my life. Okay. And that particular event was such a beautiful gift for me, because in business, I realized that, I have to stick to what I know is right. I have to go after the type of businesses that I know are right and are going to connect me with the type of people with whom I care to do business. And I saw that. But that incident is really, it's really something whenever I think about that, because I don't want to fall into a pattern, but I did see that I made a decision. And through that decision, I was able to forgive myself and to continue to find different ways to evolve. Yeah.
So in other words, you decided that revenge is the best way to deal with things, and
No,
work?
not at all. But, I what I saw is that I can have compassion
Yeah.
for that person. And by having compassion, that allows me to focus on what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because that's what I need to do. I cannot, life is an inside job, and I need to keep looking within. If I'm looking outside of myself, I am not doing what I need to do to create the greatness that dwells in me and dwells in all of us.
Yeah.
If we care to look and take the time to see that it is there for us.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when you said, I'm going to get that guy, that just reminded me of something I talked about last time, which is really the ultimate goal in discovering mirrors is so that you don't have to make choices like that. You don't have to do something from revenge. We don't have to go to war. We don't have to kill that guy or whatever it is that our fear-based consciousness wants us to do. We can make loving choices,
Right.
In other words, if you notice your thought about, oh, I'm going to get that guy in the next race, you can neutralize it by just realizing, oh, that's just revenge. I don't need to do that. I can come from love and trust and deservingness. And I know that I will do my best on this race, whether I win or not. So all of those higher consciousness thoughts can neutralize that negative one.
Right. Exactly. That's the great part about the mirror, because when you are at a higher consciousness mirror, you're feeling it. You know that any situation, it becomes a gift. And you realize that whatever is happening at this moment, life can shift so very quickly. But just to be able to recognize that and to continue to see the power that we all have. And sometimes it's that power that we decide maybe to dismiss because we are already so very powerful. But it's the fact that we're suppressing that power. We're ignoring that power, and we're not moving forward. And in case, in my case, I know being in tune with nature was really important to see how wonderful it is to keep me balanced.
So how do you personally get in touch with that higher consciousness? I know you're so in touch all the time, but is there something that you do or some technique that you utilize to do that?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. I like to get up first thing in the morning, and I have my morning prayer, my meditation. I like to really connect with that before I start the day. And I write in my journal. I do a lot of journalizing, and that really allows me to feel really, really in tune with what I can do and how I can improve upon it. Also, I'm so fortunate because I look out my window, I can see the sunrise in the morning, and that's so beautiful. Sometimes the sun doesn't always come out as a very beautiful orange sun, but the great part about that, even when it's cloudy, there's light. And so with that, I begin my day, and that's the part that really allows me to be in tune with myself. Yes.
So being in tune with yourself in the morning, does that last the whole day, or let's say something happens, you get triggered, how do you get back to that place? What is it that you
Great,
do?
great question. And so there is a moment of just pausing. Pausing, I have found that pausing is so powerful because pausing allows that godliness, that spiritualness, whatever you care to call it. It's basically allowing us to reconnect with something where for just a moment we've been just taken off course, but now we need to find our way to get back on course, and just knowing that there's a way to do that and having the tools. I'm grateful for the tools because the tools are such that I'm not looking at something that's on the surface. I'm looking to go deeper. And by going deeper, I can look and see, okay, what am I denying? What am I ignoring? So all of that becomes very important throughout the day because I know, the day may not be as perfect as I may want, but I know what's important is to do the work, have no expectations, and no concern about results. And that's the beauty of reconnecting with that higher consciousness.
Yeah. Does it, because I know with me, when my higher consciousness is getting through to me and communicating, it always feels kind of peaceful. There's no like, you need to do this. It doesn't have that I don't know, that demandingness about it. It's just a calm knowingness and okay, yeah, that's what I need to do. How does it feel for you?
Yeah. Yeah, just one moment. Yeah. Well, basically, just reconnecting, and that's the part. That's the part about reconnecting. And so, by just being able to reconnect, that means a lot, and that's what I continue to do. And that's the part that really is exciting, just to know that I can keep doing that no matter what. That's faith. That's faith and trust. Yeah.
And again, just to reinforce the notion that this work is not just about sitting around getting in touch with mirrors. It's about action. It's about knowing that even just realizing that something is a mirror can shift things on the other end of the seesaw. And that's just so important. People keep walking back and forth.
Yeah.
It must be mirroring something to us, right?
Right.
So, and I know I say this, but it's not the easiest thing in the world to look in a mirror.
Right.
People, I can't even tell you, I've had students that have come back for years taking my classes. I don't think there's one class that I don't mention mirroring. And maybe 20 weeks in, somebody will raise their hand and go, so what's a mirror?
Right. Oh, well, that's so true. We end up saying something and not realizing that judging is a good example. We're judging someone, but really we're judging ourselves. We're judging what's happening inside of ourselves. Yeah. And so, yes, that's what happens. Yeah. But without a doubt, man, that's very important. Just be aware. Again, awareness is everything. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. And to keep in mind that it's not just from this life that's being mirrored. Like I shared before, I had this realization about a relationship that spanned, 200 years ago, that we're still doing this dance together, in various forms. He was my husband in one life, and he was my child in another life, and now he's something else in this life. And just keep doing this until we don't have to do this dance anymore. What does that look like? Well, it looks like there's no anger, there's no blame, there's no judgment, there's just pure acceptance and love. And that's what happens from doing this mirror work. It's really phenomenal.
Exactly.
Every time I go through it, I'm like, oh my God. And like I said, I've been doing it for decades, and I still go, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't see that. So, yeah.
Right. But that's great, because sometimes, we talk about this, if you suppress something for so long, then it comes up even bigger in the long run.
It does.
Yeah.
It's bigger and bigger and bigger,
Exactly.
It starts out by cutting our leg, and then we fall and break our leg, and then, you know, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger until we get the message, until we see the mirror. You know,
Exactly.
what's the intent? What is the fear? What is it that's really going on? What do we need to learn to get to love?
Right.
So, yeah, that's important. So,
Right.
what about some final words of wisdom, Mr. Roy? What else can you tell people about mirroring and what you've learned, and anything else you'd like to share about all of this?
Well, I would say connect with nature. We talk about the environment a lot, but the environment is God's workshop. It's the Spirit's workshop, whatever you care to call it. And that's the part that's really important, because it is that workshop, and we honor it, we honor ourselves, and that's always so very important by being able to do that. Yes, no, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know that you've mentioned to me before that you have certain people in your life that you're talking to about mirrors. And I just think that's beautiful. How does that work? Do they get it? Do they resist it? What happens with that?
Well, yes, sure. I mean, they do resist it. I mean, but then I myself am involved with perhaps projecting something, and my intent is creating that, because at the end of the day, it is the attraction that I'm bringing to myself, and I need to really take the time again to make that effort to pause and continue to look within. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really important point, because I know in the beginning, when I first started understanding mirrors, I didn't understand them to the depth that I understand them now. And so people would mirror tons of resistance to me. And nowadays they don't, people are getting it. They're not, are you insane? So yeah, it's all a reflection. It really is. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes. So, yeah, but it's really, really great to connect with that. And I'm so glad that, we were able to hear to talk about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if there's some way that people can get in touch with you. If you want people to get in touch with you, maybe some other business people can utilize your services.
Yes. So if you go to my LinkedIn page, that's Roy, R as in Randy, O as in ox, Y as in yellow, Daggs, D as in David, A as in apple, G as in George, G as in George, S as in Sam, and I'm the third. So Roy Daggs the third on LinkedIn. Yes.
LinkedIn. All
Yes.
right. Well, I so appreciate you co-hosting with me today. You have so much value to bring to our audience and to the world and to the business world. Oh my gosh. Can we imagine a conscious business world? Wouldn't that be amazing? Even in, fields that you can't even imagine being conscious, but there's hope for the world, definitely.
That's right. All right.
Yeah. So thank everybody for being here, and just keep in mind that I've helped a lot of people get in touch with mirrors and shift their life and discover what life is reflecting. It's not the easiest thing in the world. I will not lie to anybody about, oh, it's a piece of cake. You just sit there and do 500 affirmations and,
Right.
It's not that kind of work at all. It is deep and digging and profound, but your life will never be the same. It's about getting past self-sabotage, getting past those decisions that you made about yourself when you were 2 years old or even younger, or any lifetime that you're still acting on, and reach out to me and let's talk about doing one of my courses. I start them all the time. I offer private sessions, but I really encourage people to do my 6-week resolving or transforming self-sabotage information first, because it makes it a lot easier to do the deep inner work. But I also do deep inner work in that 6-week course. So reach out to me at roycemorales.com, and let's jump in there and find those mirrors and get that Windex and clean them up. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you again, Roy.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. All right, take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.